Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Hello everybody, my name is Mr. Hat, and today we're looking at another Christmas horror movie. Today we are looking at Silent Night, Deadly Night. He knows when you've been naughty. This is a cult classic, and that's because of the bad press it got by people like Siskel and Ebert and 50,000 other people who said this movie was complete dog shit and blasphemy. This movie got so popular because of its bad publicity. There's no such thing as bad publicity. In fact, you need it. This movie came out in 1984 with the concept of a killer Santa with a commercial that aired during a football game on a Saturday night, and mothers across America were pissed. There was mothers everywhere picketing like, Santa's not a hitman. Alright, he is not bad. But it's like, dude, the killer Santa in this movie, he's not playing Santa like he's literally Santa. It is a psychopath in a Santa outfit. You can just tell your kids that, or you can tell your kids not to watch the fucking movie because they have to be 17 to watch it. Soccer moms, man, they're just unbelievable. But we have to thank those moms because without them, this movie probably wouldn't have gotten all the, fame and glory. Because at that time, this was like the movie that everyone was talking about. It's like, what's the movie we can't see? What's the movie that got pulled out of theaters that was like beating Nightmare on Elm Street at the time? The movie that was making a lot of money, this $1 million budget movie by TriStar that people are shitting their pants over. Because, you tell your kid, like, yeah, you can't do that. And it's like, well, I wasn't planning to, but now I kind of want to. That's what the situation was with this movie. It's like, what's the movie I can't see? And when the home video stores started booming in the mid-'80s, that's the first movie people were picking up was Silent Night, Deadly Night. But before I get into the synopsis and all the things I love about this movie, because don't worry, I'm not going to shit all over this movie. It's a cheesy B movie, but I love it. But let's go over some little behind-the-scenes stuff. This movie has a very interesting story behind it. Like, it was just like this Harvard guy who wrote a movie called He Sees You When You're Sleeping. It was just like an essay he wrote, some sort of script, and then somebody got it, and then we got this movie. Except the script that they got was completely erased. They just took one sentence out of it. Killer Santa, Christmas Eve. And they went with it. The movie was called Sleigh Ride. While they were making it, they hired Michael Hickey, who isn't even a slasher fan. He wrote, this movie was written by a guy who doesn't like slashers, and it worked still. And Michael Hickey was influenced by The Shining, and knowing that alone makes you look at this movie like, holy shit, I see it. This movie is about a guy who slowly becomes a psychopath, whereas in The Shining, Jack, whatever. I haven't seen that movie in so long. He slowly becomes psycho. So you can tell this movie was written by somebody who was slightly influenced by The Shining and Kubrick films. And the guy that they got to play the killer Santa in this movie, I forget his name, Brian Michael Wilson or something. He's not even an actor. They just kind of like, some guy scoped him out, saw him, was like, I like your look, kid. Here's my card. And now we got him in this movie. Interesting stories like that, I always love to know. Now, before I get into this movie, I just want to say that the Blu-ray transfer in this movie, it's not that good. I got the Scream Factory release, and if you watch the unrated version, there's like moments where it just goes from 1080p, but still kind of fuzzy, to like complete shit. It's so jarring and annoying. So just warning you, in case you plan on buying this, just know that it's not a good transfer. But yeah, I got a lot to go over, so let's just talk about this movie, shall we? So, I don't think I need to tell you a synopsis. Killer Santa. Boop. Alright, we're done. So this movie opens in 1971, and we get to know more about our killer when he was a kid. Like, this isn't like a Michael Myers movie, where it's just like the killer's killing, and we don't know why. This movie builds a story around the killer, and we see what makes him snap towards the end, and we understand why he snaps. And I just love that about this movie. That's my first positive right there. So it opens in 1971, and we got this kid. He's going to see his grandpa who's catatonic. His grandpa doesn't speak. And he's almost like one of the creepier parts of the movie. The way he just kind of stares and then just looks over at the Billy. It's very creepy. And like the grandpa, like he just gets really passionate with his story. He's telling his grandson, like, Christmas Eve is the scariest night of the year and you better run for your fucking life if you see Santa, if you've been naughty. And that plants the seed for what this kid's going to believe for the rest of your life, for his life. Because when you're a kid, you can get easily influenced. Whatever some bullshit story someone tells you, you carry that shit with you throughout your whole life. So it's totally believable what happens later on. It also explains why that catatonic grandpa scene is in the remake. That was one of those things when I saw it in my review, I was like, why is that in there? It makes no sense. Now I know why. But even as the grandpa's like talking, he's like starts to tear up, like he's crying almost. It's so weird. It's creepy as fuck. I love it. We get the cutest kid actor to play Billy, like even more adorable than Andy in Child's Play. More adorable. Just all the lines he gives, the things he does with his eyebrows, the expressions, like "Mom, don't say that about Grandpa. That makes you naughty." And then so coincidentally, on the same night that he gets that speech by his grandpa, his family just gets murdered coincidentally on the same night by a killer Santa. And it's a coincidence. It's weird because I'm not sure why this. I guess it's just a killer Santa, just to be a killer Santa. Like this killer Santa is a robber, and then he's a rapist. That's the correct term. And then but he doesn't even rape her. He just like he rips her bra off, shows her tits, and then slits her throat, and she dies immediately. I hate when that happens in the movies when people just die on the initial cut. Just like, oh, I'm done. I'm not gonna bleed out. I'm just dead. And when the killer Santa shoots Billy's father, you clearly see the two bullet holes in the father's like side of the window, and you see him spin the wheel, and he's like ducking still. And then the next shot we see of the father, he has like a bullet hole in his head and he's like dead. But as he's like falling out of the car, he's like trying to position himself like comfortably. It's like you wouldn't be doing that if you were legitimately dead. Like if you were dead, you're just gonna fall, weightless, hit the ground. So it's corny in that aspect. They could have did that better. And we don't even find out what happened to that Santa. Like what happened to the murderer. You know, like who swooped in and saved the day, because it seemed like the killer Santa saw Billy hiding in the bushes, and we don't get any answers on that. It's like, what happened? You know, because then it just cuts 3 years later. It's like 1974 now, I believe. Yeah, it's 1974, and Billy is in a orphanage, a Catholic orphanage, so it just adds more insult to injury, because now he's getting his ass kicked by nuns who instill more guilt and just misery in his life, like, you know, just always punishing him, and he sees people fucking in this movie. This movie's very sleazy. Very sleazy. Like, there's lots of nipple shots in this movie, lots of tit squeezing, and it's very sleazy. So don't watch this with your family. I love when Billy sees those couple making out, like, having sex in the orphanage, like they didn't think they'd get caught in the middle of the fucking day. The nun just kicks the fucking door open and just grabs the belt. Punishment! Shit like that is just funny when I see it. It's like, wow, she kicked that door open. It's just, wow. And then she, like, instills, again, the moral compass for this kid. Like, punishment's good. Punishment's needed. So that, like, carries on over later on when he starts killing people, saying punishment. But after all of that, we're peeling the layer behind our character, Billy. He's really traumatized by seeing boobs and Santa, because Santa killed his mom and he saw his mom's boobs because she was being raped. So anytime any of that shit is front and center, he freaks the fuck out. But then it's 10 years later and he's at this toy store and it's springtime. He gets a job. He's 18. He's out of the orphanage, and we get this weird montage straight out of like weird soap operas and 80s TV shows. It feels so dated, so fucking weird. It's jarring, but it's so cheesy that I love it. It's just like, wow, so dated. I don't know what they were thinking, but that song and that montage, it's hilarious. Like when he's like fixing the book and the boss is like behind him, it's just like, good job, you're doing your job. But then it's Christmas season and he sees the decorations go up and you see that look on his face and he's like, oh fuck. He almost looks constipated and he's like, this guy, like I said, he's not an actor. He was a sports guy, so what do you expect? But one of my bigger problems with this movie, I'm not gonna get my negatives yet, but trust me, like, dude, like when you see the scene, you're gonna be like, how the fuck did they get him in that Santa suit? Like, just like that. Alright? Because first of all, before that happened, he was talking to the Stalk manager, the asshole who ends up raping Pamela. Andy, I think is his name. He's like, I don't give a fuck about, I don't give a shit about this job. You know, Billy, he says that. But then he's like, oh, I'll do anything for you, Mr. Sims, or whatever the fuck his name is. The manager. And then all of a sudden it just cuts and he's wearing the fucking Santa suit. It's like, there's no way Billy would put that Santa suit on without kicking and screaming. Because he punched a Santa when he was a kid, and now he's just like in a Santa suit. It just felt lazy. It was just like they didn't want to shoot him like slowly, like, all right, I'll get in the costume, struggle and fight to do it. It's just like, Nope, he's in it. Just cut to him. He's in the suit. Fuck it. I love when that kid's on his lap. She does not know how to act like somebody who... She doesn't know how to act like a brat. I just didn't believe it. But anyway... Say, I don't want to be on your lap. It's so stupid. But then he's just like, you better behave, because Santa's gonna... He punishes naughty people. He's gonna kill you. And then she just like tightens up. She's like, okay, sure, I'll stop being a little brat. And she just gets off. Hilarious. This movie has dark comedy. I love this movie has so much balls. It just goes for it. It just goes for broke. You got rape, a Santa killing people. It's just it pulls no punches. Billy has this dream sequence. I'm jumping back a little bit, but I want to bring this up. All right, one, he has a hairy ass. I don't know why they shot that. Lots of gratuitous nudity in this movie, and we see Billy's hairy ass, and he's having a dream that he's having sex with his coworker that he's in love with, and then he gets killed by Santa in this dream because he's doing naughty things. He's having sex, but he's dreaming about it, and it makes sense. It makes total sense, and I love it. But I didn't need to see his hairy ass, like horrendously hairy. I don't want to see it. But then we get the worst rape scene ever in any movie. Like, it's not believable. Like, they're supposed to be like drunk a little bit, and this girl he's in love with is getting raped by the stock manager while the manager is just outside the door. And why was this place open on Christmas Eve in the first place, selling toys and giving Santa lap pictures and shit? That shit should be closed before Christmas Eve. You gotta get your shopping done early. Quit procrastinating. You have no excuse. But she's being raped, and it doesn't sell. Like, you're like, I don't believe you're being raped. I think this is staged. And when he's raping her, and he like rips open Andy, we'll just call him Andy. He rips open her shirt, and he's just like rubbing his face. He's giving like Eskimo kisses to her tits. It's like, it's like, I'm not believing it. It's so corny as fuck. Billy watches this, and this is when he snaps. He's having these PTSD moments. He's seeing her boobs, seeing the rape, and then he remembers Santa killing, and he's like, oh, I'm in my Santa suit now. I have to take on the role. Maybe he's drunk, maybe he's psycho, because he is drinking a lot, so maybe that takes a role, but I think it's just PTSD. But he snaps, and we see it. This is when the slasher element of the movie really kicks in, and from this moment on, he's just going house to house, random people, slashing them because they're naughty. This might be the tipping point where people start to check out, like, this movie was interesting, it was building a character, and now it's just a typical slasher. But it still works because of all that build-up. This movie focuses on the killer, and I love it because of that. It's so different. But he kills the rapist, right? So he's like the hero in the situation. But instead of like thanking him or like kind of like slowly walking away, like, thank you, psycho, she just calls him crazy. The woman who was being raped. Just like, you're crazy. You're crazy, the guy who just murdered somebody in front of me. That's the last thing you say to somebody who just murders somebody in front of you. You don't go, oh, you're fucking crazy. What? Yeah, you should start running. I just hate that in movies. Like, when somebody does something good for somebody and they just don't appreciate it. You got saved from being raped. Sure, he's a psycho, but that guy deserved it. Like, any situation, if you die raping somebody, no one's gonna feel sympathy for you. On your tombstone, died while raping. Yeah, this guy's an asshole. He deserved it. I do want to point out that I find it to be bullshit that this toy store had an actual bow and arrow set just lying around for him to use that quick. Just want to point that out. I thought that was kind of baloney. But I love that scene when he's like slowly creeping around. He's saying like the Silent Night Christmas story, and I just love that scene. All right, so after this like toy store rampage, we get more gratuitous nudity. We got these couple. They're making love on top of a pool table, and we got Barry Sims from Halloween 6 in this movie. And then the woman, despite the fact that there's like Christmas carolers outside, and she knows that, she goes, oh, I gotta go upstairs and open the door and let the cat in. And she puts on her shorts, right? She puts on her shorts, and then she goes upstairs where she just heard her sister, her little sister. She goes up there topless. And then she opens the door to the public, showing her tits. Like, Mr. Whiskers, my tits are just all the way out, and she doesn't give a fuck. And then that's when the Santa comes in and kills her. Just lots of, that's just an example of gratuitous nudity. It's just there to be nudity. But she gets killed by the famous antler scene. He impales her on the antlers, and we actually get a prosthetic torso, practical effects, unlike the remake that copied this death with CGI. I hate CGI. Fuck that death. But probably my favorite scene is what comes after he kills these two people making love. He walks up to this little girl who's like the sister of the murder victim, and she's like, oh, it's Santa, and like, you come to give me a gift? And he's like, have you been naughty? And this is when like the most tension is like in this movie. It's right here because you're like, is he gonna fucking kill her? Like, what if she like tries to be brutally honest? Like, yeah, I was naughty at one point. I forgot to brush my teeth, or I did something naughty. My mom yelled at me, and then he just fucking shanks her. I was scared for a moment, like Halloween 2018 when Michael Myers strangled that kid. That moment is like in this movie. We're like, is he gonna kill this kid? Because he asks her like 3 times, like, are you sure? Have you been naughty? And he slowly gets that box cutter out, and she's like, no, I've been good. And he just gives her the box cutter that he used to murder somebody earlier with, has blood all over it. Like, oh, here's your gift. And she just looks at it like, I don't want this. It's hilarious. It has like dark humor right there, but it was an awesome scene. And now we just got like these 2 random people sledding, and then we get these 2 random assholes that come in and kick these 2 people out. They're just bullies to be bullies. Just people set up to die. We get some cannon fodder here. It's like, alright. I mean, the other 2 people are cannon fodder too, but it's just like at this point, it's like, alright, this movie is just throwing people in to die, right? Because this is like the slasher half of the movie. But we get the famous bobsled kill. The guy gets his head chopped off on the way down. His headless body just keeps going down. Very good stuff. Let's go over a few of my little negatives here. Alright, so this movie has a very good pacing. And then all of a sudden, it just kind of slows down too much towards the end. Like, it's very good, and then all of a sudden, we got this cop just walking around the premises, and then he walks down. Like, it plays out too long. And then I did some research, and Michael Hickey, who wrote this movie, that wasn't in the script. And he hates that scene too. He doesn't hate it, but he agreed with me. He's like, it didn't build any tension. It was too long, and it totally slows down the movie. I was like, holy shit, my thoughts exactly. I was thinking that while watching the movie. I was like, why is this playing out so long? It's weird. It's stupid. It's not doing anything. Just speed up. But the cop ends up getting axed in the stomach, kind of like reminiscent of The Shining. Now, I do find it corny, the whole punish thing, and naughty. Every time he kills somebody, he just goes, punish. Like, he says it verbatim, like how I just said it. It's a little ridiculous. But this guy's not an actor. Maybe that's how they told him to say it. But he could have had more emotion to it. He sounded like he was brainwashed, like, punish you. Naughty. And then we get this cop who shoots a fake Santa, and then we find out that was a priest dressed up as a Santa who was deaf, conveniently. He shoots him in the back. And today, especially today, with all the things going on with cops, all the drama, gonna get arrested immediately. That cop should be the fuck arrested. Like, seriously, just go home. You're off duty. You're suspended. Sure, there was that whole scene where he's like, shoot to kill if necessary. It was not necessary. This kid was clearly like embracing Santa, and he shoots him from the back, and Santa had no fucking visible weapon on him. And he shot him 3 times in the back. 3 times. Not once, not pop one in the leg. 3 times in the back. That is just ridiculous. Oh, Don Shanks is in this movie too. He plays the other Santa who climbs into the window, I think. He's like the stunt coordinator for this movie, and then he plays Michael Myers in part 5. So, we got a few people from the Halloween franchise in this movie. I found that very interesting. But yeah, then at the end, the one person who deserved it, Mother Superior. Fuck that name. You're not superior to anybody. Fuck you. She, the one who told Billy that, punishment's good. You did some of the brainwashing herself. Like, she ties him up to his bed. Like, Catholic places can do that? Fuck that. No. And then she's like forcing him to sit on Santa's lap despite the fact that she knows his story, that his parents were murdered by a Santa, and you're gonna force him to sit on Santa's lap? Screw that bitch. And she doesn't die! I heard she dies in the sequel, but she doesn't die in this movie. Instead, she gets saved, and Billy dies, and then we get that evil lives on ending because, this one kid who just saw 2 Santas get murdered in front of him in the last 10 minutes of the movie, he just looks at Mother Superior and he goes, naughty. And then it's like, credits. Which I saw that coming. I was like, okay, these kids have to be fucked up by now. They just saw 2 Santas get murdered. One of these people is going to be in the sequel as the murderer. And I think I'm right. It was kind of predictable, but I still liked it. It was a nice touch on this movie. And I think that was the brother. Like, they don't, like, at the very beginning, there's this infant. And they don't really touch base on him as the years go by. Like, his relationship with his younger brother. They just ignore that character. I wish they would have had more interactions between Billy and his little infant brother as he got older. Because it starts with him being 5, and we got the infant brother. And then he's like 8 Well, then the brother should have been like 3 or 4, and then now he's like 18, 19 or whatever. Where's the 14, 15-year-old son? I mean, brother. You know, it doesn't focus on him either. I mean, at all. It doesn't focus on his little brother, and I wish they would have shown just a little interaction between them. Like, did he just totally disown his brother? Did they get separated in different orphanages? Like, what happened? They don't elaborate on that at all. But it doesn't hold the film back. I just wish they would have said something. Because is that his brother at the end who ends up being the killer in the second movie? I'll find out when I watch it. But overall, this movie was a awesome, fun sleigh ride for me. Ha ha ha. Wink. This definitely is a sleazy 80s slasher. Has all the boxes checked. It's a Santa movie, so you can't take it too serious. Like, when you're watching it, it doesn't look like it is taking itself, like, not serious. It's not being funny. It kind of has dark humor in it. But overall, the tone's consistent. It's very dark. It's brutal. And I love it for that. So therefore, when it comes to Silent Night, Deadly Night, I highly recommend that you go out and buy this classic. The Mr. Hat Award's going to go to the classic Antler Death. It's very brutal, and they actually get to use a practical torso this time. On the unrated version and this Blu-ray transfer, it looks kind of weird, but it's still good. I like it. And the Mr. Twig Award for Lamest Kill is gonna go to Barry Sims, who gets thrown out the window, and he just gets this giant fake-looking shard of glass in his chest. With so many murder weapons nearby, this is the death we got. They could have been a little bit more creative. Slasher fan or not, I think there's enjoyment to be had by this. Even if you don't like horror movies, you can still pop this in and just enjoy yourself. It's fun. It actually tells a good story behind the character. It makes you... He's a sympathetic monster that's being created, and I just love how much we get to see of his backstory. But anyways, those are my thoughts on this classic. This is my first time watching it, and I really am upset that I didn't get to watch this movie growing up. But did you get to see this movie when it came out? If so, I am jealous. But let me know what your thoughts are on this movie in the comments below. And as always, you can support this video by clicking this like button over here, and you can subscribe to this channel by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds to see more awesome content. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.